and welcome to Edison TV. My name's Jane Farnham, and today I'm interviewing Martin Carolan, the Chief Executive of the green hydrogen production and transportation company, Global Energy Ventures. Global Energy Ventures is a young company with a truly unique green hydrogen initiative that should see it producing and transporting its own green hydrogen from Australia to Southeast Asia with zero greenhouse gas, or GHG emissions, as early as 2026. Hello, Martin, and thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedule today to spend some time discussing GEV on Edison TV.
Thank you, Jane. Good to be here.
It's lovely to meet you. I've got lots of questions for you today because I'd love to find out more about GEV. Tell me, to what extent can green hydrogen replace all other colours of hydrogen? And does it have the potential to replace other hydrocarbons used in large-scale industrial processes, such as cement and steelmaking?
Well, we certainly think it does. I mean, we as a company have focused on the green hydrogen from the outset. There's lots of, I call it the rainbow of colours, right? So yeah, predominantly the focus has been on blue versus green, and there's turquoise and pink and other varieties. I think it just comes down to the fundamentals of which is going to be cost competitive. You know, right now coming from a grey where there's no carbon capture through to a blue, which is still a fossil fuel driven process with carbon capture, to green, which is 100% renewable energy. So I think the pathway is there. I personally, from our conversations, whether it be with country representatives or organisations, it will come down to the customer. So they will want to know the origin and whether it's 100% carbon free. So I think one, it needs to be available for delivery. Two, it needs to be still at a competitive price. It won't just be at any value. And three, it'll be the customer's discretion. So I think that's the way the pathway will go. And so the quicker that companies like GEV can enable the economy and the market to develop and be available, the quicker that can be a winner for the green hydrogen economy.
So is the potential transformation to a hydrogen economy gaining traction globally? And also, we recently had COP26 in Glasgow. Did that help to nudge it further forward?
Yeah, I think it did. I think it certainly, again, put focus on the sector. We saw far more commitment to the 2030 timeframe than previously had been agreed to back in the Paris Initiative. So what that does is it gives more laser focus on how they can decarbonise and meet that target. So as the dates keep coming closer to us and more focus and strategies and implementation put in place, I think that is. We saw a number of transactions or deals announced around hydrogen in all different formats of renewables. So it's not just about hydrogen. And we've seen the continuation of countries put in place strategies which include hydrogen as one pillar. In our own country, in Australia, we had enormous pressure on the Prime Minister here and the government to put in place commitments to 2030 or even just a 2050 commitment to begin with. And over that 10 days, we saw the word hydrogen mentioned probably 20 times a day, whether it be Prime Minister or various industry ministers. So I think it really has put more focus on it, and that will flow through in investment, R&D, incentives. So the weight of money is now starting to come.
That's good news. So it was a positive conference for you. GEV is developing a compressed green hydrogen vessel. Now that vessel is capable of not only carrying hydrogen long distances, but remarkably, it's also being powered by the green hydrogen. So to what extent does this CO2 emission-free model give you financial and environmental cost advantages over other forms of hydrogen transportation?
So one of the things we did when we first set out to establish the business case and the strategy was, firstly, we had to come up with a ship that met all the regulatory requirements for a gas carrier. But secondly, we actually designed the ship to run on hydrogen if that was at all possible. And I think to do that, we needed to have electric drive engines, the capability to store, and then obviously the access to industrial scale fuel cells. So we partnered with Ballard Fuel Systems, which is a very large fuel cell operator out of North America. That and Wärtsilä as for engines, and that combination going through the design is going to work for us. I think economically the question is we need to see the fuel cell efficiency and scale continue to grow. I think if we are ready in 2026, that is our ambition to have our first fleet of ships. we may need to have a dual fuel engine, which includes some LNG, but still blended with hydrogen. But I think we have a strong partnership with Ballard, which is going to drive the scale availability of fuel cells, which will then have our ship being emission-free in the longer term. In the longer term, we call that a 2030 horizon. It's not beyond that. So we're not too far away. So technically it will be capable. Economically, that's still the challenge, for us and our partners to be ready.
So you mentioned a fleet of ships. So how many vessels are we talking about by 2026, hopefully?
So we operate on a kind of a round trip schedule model. So, given for a given volume and distance that we're shipping to will determine the number of ships in a fleet. So we have 2 projects that are currently being announced. We're looking at others. Typically, a small project for us would be 4 or 5 vessels of the 430-ton pilot ship, and then longer distance, bigger volumes. We're looking at 8 to 10 in a fleet. So if we look at the opportunity set here, it's a very large market opportunity. Clearly, there are no other compressed hydrogen carriers, and today there are actually no hydrogen gas carriers, be that liquefaction. You can store ammonia, obviously. So there's a completely new class of vessel that's required.
So certainly leading the way then. Now, you're developing a green hydrogen export project in the Tiwi Islands, I hope I said that right, which are located just off Northern Australia. Tell me why that site was chosen and what advantages it gives GEV on the road to developing an economic green hydrogen supply.
Yeah, so this project announcement just 4 weeks ago, was the first occurrence for our company to move into the upstream. So it was important for us to look at owning the molecules and owning our development pathway. So strategically, the Tiwi Islands, it's, for those that know Australia, you've got Darwin as the major city in the very north. It's 100 kilometres from Darwin, and that is almost the northernmost export point from Australia. So we're shortening the distance to get product there. So it has a great solar radiance for our plans for a solar farm. There is an existing port facility there, which we plan to utilise. There is an abundance of land to continuation, and we also don't have to deal with the native title issues that onshore areas do. So the people who are from the Tiwi, the native people there, they already own the land. So commercially, it's quite easily to move forward, and I think environmentally we're in good shape. But the key is obviously distance. So the shorter the distance, obviously we can lower the cost.
Right. Okay. So quite a long road ahead. What are the next milestones that need to be achieved to validate progress towards the planned commencements of trading that you have for 2026?
Yeah, Jane. So I guess from a shipping perspective and approvals, we've already achieved our approval in principle for both size vessels. We're now committed to approval for construction by 2023 for the pilot ship. So all of next year there'll be a series of small milestones to achieve that. So that is a time frame that's now defined. From a project perspective, we're underway with the feasibility for a third-party project, which we're in partnership with Total Iran in WA. That's a feasibility due in June, and then our own project, we're kicking off a feasibility that will run all of 2022. But in the near term, you will see us start to bring in corporate development partners. So whether that's financial, technical capability, operational capability. So we need to de-risk and build capability. So we've seen already interest in our project, and we're also continuing to screen other opportunities globally. So we're focused not just in Asia, but we're focused on looking at projects that are delivering into Europe. And so our compressed shipping solution is starting to gain more recognition in its competitiveness in terms of delivered cost and its availability versus the alternative carriers as we work towards the mid-20s, when everyone of note is trying to get first projects to market. So the next 2 to 3 months and all of next year are quite heavy with news events.
So it's going to be a busy time. Martin, thanks so much for joining us today on Edison TV. It's been an absolute pleasure talking to you and finding out more about GEV.
Right. Thank you, Jane.
Thank you.